My name is Sean Lyon with Lifestyle Homes. Today I was going to walk through our 1977 plan and show just some typical homeowners maintenance items and some things that are real simple for homeowners to do when they first move in. What we found is when we do our initial orientation, people have already signed papers and they've signed all these documents, and by the time they get here, they just want to get their keys and get moved in. So I wanted to do a short video on just some of the typical homeowners maintenance suggestions for your home. So first thing we do is our front door. We always want a little bounce in this door. We don't want the weather stripping compressed all the way tight. So weather stripping is doing its job when it's actually out a little bit and we have a little play in this door. What'll happen is typically after the first month or so, you're going to have some settling and we'll have to come in and adjust this for you. It's no problem, you just let us know. So moving on down the hallway, the first thing we're going to address down the hallway is your return air filter. To access the filter, there's a couple little clips. You just fold those clips down. This is on a hinge, it'll fold down, and then you pull your air filter out. The air filter in this home is a 20 by 30 air filter. You want to make sure that you change this at least once a month, especially when you first move in. Without your yards being landscaped, there's a lot of dust and stuff in the air, and we want to make sure that your heating and air system is working the most efficiently that it can by making sure that we replace the air filter. We have our thermostat for the house, and we always leave the directions here for the homeowner. So the thermostat is programmable. You can set it to come on in the morning, turn off at night, so that it's more efficient. And like I said, the directions are here for it, and it is an electronic thermostat. So the smoke detectors in the home are duals, which just means that they're carbon monoxide and smoke detectors. One thing about smoke detectors is you'll have that stupid chirp where the battery's dying and one of them's beeping. I always recommend just replace all the batteries at once. Otherwise, you'll be chasing your tail on it. Might as well just do them all at once. The older smoke detectors, you would have to pull this all the way off, and the battery would actually be inside of it, and it was a 9-volt. The way they do it now is they make it really simple. You just pull this off, and there's 2 AA batteries, a little more convenient. And you just pull the tab, pull the batteries out, replace them, and you're done. So on our single hung windows, we have a cam lock here. You just pull back on the cam. Once you hear it click and it stays back, you know the window's unlocked. And then this window will open, and it'll just stay open in any position that you want it to stay open. To close it, just gently 2 hands down, and then that should lock. And that's the way that window should operate, nice and smooth. On our slider window, we have the same sort of setup. We have the same locking system as we did on the single hung window. And we do the same thing. We hold this out till it clicks. That's unlocked. And then we open the window. And as you can tell, it's running nice and smooth. Now, one thing that's going to happen over time is the track of this window is going to get a lot of dirt and dust and grit in it. It's terrible on vinyl windows. They don't like it. So I always recommend that we keep the vinyl or keep the track clean. Every time you vacuum, just hit it with a vacuum, okay? Closing the window, a common mistake, this is a larger window, it's a little bit heavier. A common mistake is for somebody to put their hand right here and then they push. Well, when they push, they bend the vinyl in and then they try to close it and it hits the frame. So real simple, just 2 hands, nice and easy. Push this straight from the back and it closes and locks. Now we're coming into the living area of your home, your living room and your kitchen. Probably the most important rooms in the house because this is where we spend most of our time, right? The buyers of this home have elected for the LVP flooring, which is a great flooring product. It's waterproof, very durable product. We always include in the closing package what they recommend to clean the floor. You want to make sure and read that. You don't want to use anything too harsh on it. It'll ruin the finish on it actually over the years. So just some general care and maintenance tips for your granite is you want to make sure your granite is sealed. It just will make the product last longer and look better. It has been pre-sealed from the factory, and then I always recommend that you seal your granite once a year. Good way to tell if it needs to be sealed or not is actually just to put a little water on it, see if it soaks up. Even though it's granite and that it's rock, it is porous. So if you put a little bit of water here and come back in an hour and that water's gone, well, chances are that you need to seal it. Super simple to seal. You can get granite sealer at Home Depot and you just wipe it on and let it dry and you're done. It's literally a 15-minute project. On our subway tile, we do use a stain resistance grout, which helps a ton. I still recommend that a homeowner would seal their grout. I would do it at least once a year. Same concept as the granite. You can get tile sealer at Home Depot. It comes in a little jug. Just use a sponge and just wipe it on, let it dry, and you're done. I want to take a minute to talk about our water supply line for our refrigerator. Being in the business as long as I have, this is one of the biggest insurance claims that I know of. Supply lines breaking, supply lines not being tight, supply lines freezing, flooding the house. So I want to take just a quick minute and talk about it. One thing I always recommend homeowners to do is actually drain, take a 5-gallon bucket and drain the sediment out of the line, because it is new construction. You don't want all that sediment in your refrigerator and your brand new filter. So when you hook up your supply line, you're just going to take this guy off and this guy off, and your supply line's going to hook right to here. And you're just going to take a wrench and then you're going to tighten this thing back on. And then take a wrench and make sure that this is tight, and then you're going to turn the water on, and then you're going to ensure that there isn't any leaks, okay? And I would say for the first week or so, you actually just pull the fridge out and just make sure that nothing's leaking. So moving into the laundry room, I wanted to discuss our electrical for our dryer and also our dryer vent hookup. Just a standard 220 volt 4-prong dryer hookup. I always recommend people take a picture of this during the walkthrough, just so they know what kind of whip to get for their dryer, being that these are always, they're different. Everybody sells different ones. The dryer vent hookups here, and I always tell people just make sure that this is a nice, tight, sealed connection. We don't want any lamp behind the dryer, obviously. So moving on to the supply lines for your washing machine. You got hot and cold. Hot's on the left. The waste goes down in here, so that tube coming from your washing machine would go down into there. You want to ensure that these are tight, and you want to keep an eye on this to make sure that there isn't any water leaking. So we're in the master closet now of our 1977 plan, pretty spacious closet to say the least. This is typically where we'll have our crawl space that goes underneath the house. The reason that we're here is I always recommend to everybody at least once a year you go into your crawl space and actually check, make sure that there isn't any leaks or standing water anywhere, make sure the insulation's up where it's supposed to be. I also recommend that you have a pest inspector actually spray for bugs at least once a year. So to open the crawl space, I have the ring here, and this just pops open. And then you will see a little piece of insulation right here, which you just kind of push down or pull out. Just pull this out, and then you'll be in your crawl space, okay? And then to put this back, real simple. Goes back in the same way that it came out. I wanted to take a quick second to talk about the media panel. All the low voltage from the entire home comes into this media panel. So you'll pull these screws, or your provider will pull these screws and access all the wires. There's also 110 in here, so if you have a modem or wireless, you can actually plug in your wireless here, or a lot of service providers now have a backup that they'll plug into that. Again, we realize that this is probably the biggest investment that you'll make in your lifetime. And those are just a few of the items that I think is important to making sure that your home does last a lifetime.